Okay, so we're gonna continue on with this dog walker app, and we'll just make a login system for users to not only register but to log into our website. And so go ahead and open up the code base and launch it. This is a code along, so I recommend following along and coding with me. So it looks like port 5000. And at some point, I loaded up a bunch of dummy data into this. I think one of the last lectures. And so I've got some number, 466K. It's some number of dog walkers. Now, this list route doesn't give me all the dog walkers. I think this just gives me the first 5 or something like that. So if I were to set the page size to, 100, you get a lot more data back. But if you turn that off, there's a default page size of 5, I think. So, but go ahead and get it booted up. And we need to, probably in the database, make some methods to work with users. And so I'll just write the method headers. So we're going to allow the user to log in with their email, and we'll check it on, not in the database tier, but basically if they give us a good email, we'll log them in with their email and then check it against their password. Let's write find user by email. So what this means is if I had an IP So these are kind of the methods that we're going to fill out today. We'll start here with register user. And once we can register a user, we'll log in a user, update a user, and delete a user. So it's CRUD, right? This is all the same stuff that we've done. Create, read, update, and delete. I mean, this is something we've done before. But now we'll have passwords, which will be encrypted. Now, if I close this, in the lecture, we talked about 3 packages: bcrypt, JSON Web Token, and cookie-parser. So we can go ahead and install all 3 of these. So we'll do npm install cookie-parser, JSON Web Token, and bcrypt. One command should install all 3. Cookie-parser, JSON Web Token. I'm just going to keep that open just because you never know when you need the docs. Okay, JSON Web Token and bcrypt. Okay, so now let's boot this back up. Now that we have our dependencies installed, let's go to server and bring in cookie parser. And here's app. Before our routes, we'll do app.use cookie parser, which is a function. All right, and that'll allow us to create cookies on the client, and that's installed at the application tier, so you could use it on any route. Okay. So now on our registered user, kind of the purpose of find user by email is if the user already exists, we don't want to register a new user. So on register user, we just want to look a user up by the email, and if they already exist, we're not going to register them twice. And so find a user by email, we can go ahead and fill that in first. And just do a now we don't have this collection yet, right? But we're going to create a users collection, right? That doesn't exist until you actually insert a record. Do a find one. Email. EQ. Email. Okay, so find user by email, just send in the string email, and if it exists, it returns the user. Otherwise, it should return null. And then that allows us to check to see if they already exist before we register them. Connect. So if that returns a truthy value, we'll throw an error. I'm going to call this new user. New user. New user. Else and we do an insert one. So pretty simple logic. If the user already exists, we give them an error. Otherwise, we run an insert one command on our database. Right now, keep in mind there is no users collection. And if I were to go back to Mongo and sign in, just to show you right now on this app, there's only dog walkers. That was in the mflix and browse collections. See, there's just a dog walkers DB with one collection called walkers with a bunch of different dog walkers. Okay, so let's export this register user function. And create a new route. So here, if I click on this API folder, Let's create users.js. Again, I think this should probably be singular. If I could go back, I would, but we'll keep it consistent. Since this is walkers.js, this will be users.js. And, you know, we have to bring in Express and make a router. So just like we did on the walkers, we'll import and const router equals express.router. And down at the bottom, we export router as, so these are kind of like the three things that we need. And we'll call this user router. So these are the three lines that we need to get started. Back in server.js, we need to import user router from that route and install the middleware app.use /API/ users user router. Okay, so now we can make our first route. So again, over here, router dot. We'll do a post, router.post register. So now we have a router. So we'll go router.post /register. Async rec res next. Res.json register route hit. So we should be able to go to /API/users API/users/register on a post. So let's hit that on. Postman post http://localhost 5000 API users register route hit. I guess you would do something along the lines of, doesn't matter, we got to the route, but you would do something like message. There we go. Okay, so we're at the register route. Let's go ahead and bring in db module from database.js. So now we have db module. And you know, on our new users, let's bring in Joy and make a schema to validate our user data. Import Joy from Joy, I believe. And we'll make a joy schema. Const new user schema equals joy object. Let's bring in valid body and valid ID, which are our middleware as well. Import valid ID, import valid body. I believe we gotta say .js. For this one, we'll keep it simple. We'll just say, okay, hey, we need an email, we need a password, and you know how to do the rest. And we'll do a role. Email : joy.string trim min1 email required, something like that. Password is also joy string trim, say minimum of 5 characters. It's also required. And role joy.string trim lowercase. Valid values are developer. That's what Austin was, right? A business analyst?
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our roles. Okay, so our new user schema. Simple for now, right? Of course, you could add to this, right? Your user could have a first name, a last name, a street address, But for our login, we're just going to take email, password, and role. Okay. Let's do valid body, new user schema. And try catch. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our user equal to, let's spread the rec body, which again has been validated at this point. The data that's coming in, so it's going to start off our object is all the properties and values coming across from Postman. Created date, new date, and it'll generate an ID for me, and it should have a role. Otherwise, we gotta set this as required. No, it's only, pretty sure that it'll be required, but let's do required. So it should have a role, it should have an email and a password, and we'll create a created date. Now, we can just go ahead and call our
It's very similar if I put the IP addresses not zero. Right? If I try to configure that as a not zero, as the actual IP address, what would that be? No. Why? Because the subnet mask tells it the size of the network.
now.
I tell you the size of the network, already knows.
DB result probably has that a property, but we'll just do this. We'll just do res JSON. We need to do some sort of rec.body.email. Okay, and we'll just see if that gets the data in the database. We're not doing any. There's some more error checking that we need to do. But let's go. Here we just say, hey, call register user inside the DB module, pass it the user, and assume it's successful. Catch any errors. And so now I need to go to body, form encoded, key is email. We got email, password, and role. Developer. Okay. And it says cannot read undefined. Users.js line 24. So let's go into register user. So DB result is probably coming back undefined. Users line 24 cannot read. Okay, reading email. Rec.body.email is saying undefined. Rec.body. Now, let's see if I refresh. It did do the insert. However, it's missing a lot of data. So my rec.body isn't, doesn't have the data that I want. Rec.body. Rec.body.email. Rec.body. So valid body should be creating rec.body. So now what I'll do is I'll just do a debug. And just like over here, I created a debugging channel. I'll do that for my users. I'll call it debug user router app user router. All right, so now we can call post, form encoded, and I hit it. Yeah, rec.body is coming back undefined. So there's my problem, and let me troubleshoot and fix it. Grant did notice that, hey, this is asynchronous method, so we need to await it, which is correct. However, run this here. Okay, user with email undefined already exists. Okay, but still our user router is undefined. So yeah, our rec.body, is that the same error that you're getting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Effectively, what I want to do is, delete these users. Okay, and troubleshoot this problem, which is rec.body being undefined. Register post. Same bug got me as last time. In order to accept data from the form, we have to have this router.use express URL encoded, and so we have this on Walker.js. We need this line of code on users.js. That's gotten me before. So let's add that Let's add that line into users. So you have to do that after you define the router. So this line, there we go. So now we should be able to comment that out, bring this code back. And async this. There we go. Now, uncheck that. Register, form encode. If I leave anything off, I should get, there we go. Password required. Put a password in. I didn't have role as required. But now if I go back into here and I refresh, I'll just delete this user, but okay, so I see EA Gudmestead, password of password. This is dummy data, so let's just delete. And let's add the required attribute to my schema for the role dot required. There we go. So now if we try and leave the role blank, role is required, role of developer. Okay, new user registered. And here's my email. So this is rec.body. We don't need to see that. And refresh. We have a user. Now we need to just encrypt his password, not hard. And so in order to let's just do another one here. This should say user already exists, which is what I would expect, right? Oops, didn't mean to click that. Just don't save. Okay. So register new user. If I hit 2. Okay. Now that says object. I want to look at that object. So
know the rest of the so we just determined that our IP or network address is 10.
Let's put in 3 object.
We also know that we have 255 here that we can use, and 255 here. As we progress, all 255
Sometimes kind of go back to the old stuff. Look at those properties. I'm going to delete all these users so it doesn't make a big deal right now. Acknowledged is true.
So by saying that we have a /8, knowing this is here, we know we have these 3 contents available. We know that we have them, right? We can use every single one of them. So we can use 255 out of this one, 255 out of this one, 255 out of this one, if we get a /8. What do we need for our size?
Okay. Let's fix something here. Let's encrypt the password. Because I still want to make sure that I'm only sending back this message if it worked. So I got to fix that. But in the meantime, let's bring in bcrypt. Show how that works. So import bcrypt from bcrypt. Pretty straightforward.
Also, 255 numbers that I can turn on the computer. I can't touch this out and put all 255 numbers. Right? Use 255, turn on this. Use 255, turn on another.
Okay, to go back to the lecture notes, you could set, take the clear text password and a number of salt rounds, and that'll return a hash. And so we will update. So user will have a clear text password. So we'll set user.password. We'll update the password equal to bcrypt.hash, the current password, which is user.password, and we'll just hard code 10 salt rounds. And this should be something we have to await. Okay, so here's our user object with a clear text password. We update that user.password equal to await bcrypt hash, the current clear text with 10 salt rounds. And now, if we put a user in the database, and we go back to the database, users, there is our encrypted password. So that's pretty cool. Let's delete all these users that we're not using. Okay, the next thing that we want to do once we log in the user, or excuse me, once we create the user, we want to basically create a cookie that'll help them stay logged in. That's going to be where we use cookie parser, and that's going to be where we use JWT. So I'll delete this user again because we now have a hashed password. Minimize. Okay, Okay, so I'm going to write this logic once, and then what I'll do, I just want to write it once to keep it simple, and then I'm going to refactor it into a function because we're going to want to make this code reusable, so we'll put it in a function that we can call in this route and then in other routes as well. So the next two steps, right, so here's insert, so we kind of like hash the user's password, insert user into the database, and then what we want to do is create an authentication token to create a session between client server, and we're going to create a cookie to store the token in on the client. Okay, so as far as the token is concerned, okay, so the token has three parts. Has a payload, has a secret, and options. So first we'll do the payload. Here the payload will just be the user information. So const payload equals, this is the information you're storing in the token. Now here, let's make the underscore ID colon let's see, we don't have new ID brought in, or do we? We need to bring in new ID, which I believe that was in database. We have new ID here, so this would be DB module new ID. What I wanted to have do is have access to the ID that we're creating, DB module dot new ID. That'll let us put the ID in the payload, which is the object ID. Okay, so there's a payload. Now this is just going to be really crude. Again, we're going to kind of refactor this to store the secret somewhere else. Again, this secret's kind of like your password, but I'm just going to go to password generator. What is the URL of this thing? Passwords. That's what gets me. Passwords generator. Click on generate copy.
55, and goals. I just add one number. I've only used one piece of this pie.
Let's see if it doesn't like putting it in quotes.
Go from 0 to 192. Yeah, all the way to 192.
Okay. Complications there with the backspace being a special character. So I'm just going to
All the way to this, which is 255 IP addresses in this item times 255.
yeah, it breaks with that secret. So let's go to
It's telling you how do you say that? Slash 24 reduces them because they're all used, right? You can't use them. So I'm going to leave the stuff. In this case, slash 8. That means I have 255 here times 255 here times 255. Every single time I go from 0 to 255 and back around, that number will change. And that one is 255. There's no more numbers left to go to.
expires in, and we got to do the whole calculation of 1,000 milliseconds. That's 1 minute. Let's just say times 10. 600. That's 10 minutes. 600K. Okay. And const auth token equals JWT. We got to bring in JWT. So import JWT, JSON web token, JWT dot sign. Okay, first is the payload. Then is the secret. Then are the options. Okay, so that's our auth token stored in that variable. And then next, we'll create a cookie. Cookie has options as well.
Correct. Keeps going. I have 32 IP addresses. I got 843, and then we have 200. So on and so forth. Windows 10 stores the default gateway setting internally as part of the larger table of the router. Can you route the table on your PC?
1 second here.
DNS, the domain name system, is essential to communication using that network on all hosted IP addresses.
Actually, I think I got this auth off. I think the expiration, because there's a token expiration and then there's a cookie expiration. And let me look at the docs real quick on the token expiration. So JSON web token expires in 1 hour. There we go. Yeah, my syntax was wrong on that one. Expires in 1 hour. So we just put 1H there. In quotes, 1H. And cookie options. HTTP only. And max age. This is the result of the 600K. Max age is 1 hour as well. 60123. Okay, so those are cookie options. And to create the cookie, as we kind of go back to way up here, we have to have this app use cookie parser. I think we did that. But then we could do res.cookie. Did not mean to put in that line break. Control Z. There you go. Res.cookie. The name of our cookie is auth token. The data is the actual auth token that we just signed with JWT, and then the cookie options, like such. Okay. So insert the user, create a token right here, store that token that we created on line 54 in a client-side cookie. Okay, now new user registered. We'll just change this up. User._ID, and then we'll say auth token. User ID, auth token.
This is what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, that was the legacy system that you used to resolve those things. Doesn't really work. Definitely doesn't work for IT. All right, so we have a couple different methods.
Okay, so now let's try this again. I should not have any users.
Depending on your environment, you may have limited IP addresses.
Users are empty. Let's create my new user. New ID is not a function. Okay. So that was database. I probably didn't export it. I did not. Let's new ID export it. Save it. Try again. Let's see if I created a user. I doubt I did. Let's see if I got that far. Nope. New user registered, user ID, auth token, and that looks correct. Now if I go into cookies, you see this little collection here for cookies. It created a cookie. I could see my auth token cookie with a value that's encrypted, so it worked. And expires in, notice the time is in GMT, so it's not CST where we live. Okay, but you know, we're getting this to work, which the idea is we registered a new user, and as they register, you know, as you do on any website, right, you're going to stay logged in. That's why we're doing this, right? It's not logging the user out and then asking them to log back in. As soon as they register a new account, they're automatically logged in. That's why we're creating this auth token. It's to kind of maintain that session between the client and the server. So that's what we were looking for. And refresh. There's our user, hashed password. Okay. Now I said I was going to kind of refactor this into some functions so that we can use them on multiple routes. So here, let's do that. Function issue auth token. You accept the user. Let's pull the payload, the secret, and the options out. ID, user ID, email, secret. Let's pull the secret from config.
There you go. You can also
So instead of bad secret, we'll say config.get auth.secret. Okay, so that means inside of config default, we need auth.
hosting is what identifies your specific machine.
Secret.
ID configs a command that you use to show the current config. E is a tool that sends ICMP messages, and then you're going to control the message back and forth between workstations to determine whether or not it's on. So it's like a real-time response. Like send E to the order, like a response when you say yes.
And
Real-time tracer is the ability to trace the route.
we can also do token expires in, which is our 1 hour. And we'll do cookie expires in, and we did 600. And we'll do salt rounds of 10.
Hacking is similar to tracer, however, hacking is route displays modifies information on the local route.
And then we're going to copy this auth here into here, and this will point at your .env auth secret. This will be auth token expires in. Auth cookie expires in. Auth salt rounds. Okay, so in our .env, we need an auth secret equals. This is where I'm going to copy my passwords generator 256. Generate copy. Should be able to paste that there. Okay. Auth token expires in 1 hour. Cookie expires in 600. Salt rounds is 10. So just kind of storing these settings in our .env all the way back here. So inside of users, our config says go to auth secret. Secret's not there, so it'll go to custom environment variables and read it from the .env.
It's not very exciting. It's tough to stay away from. The army, I would just walk up to you and let you fall asleep.
Okay.
Do something in. Get up and get mad and
The options expires in we could say 1 hour, but expires in here. Config .get auth token expires in. Okay, let's bring our token up. Cut, paste, and then return auth token. So you pass the user in, create a payload. It's pulling the data from the config now. Generate a token, return the token. So now down here, we just need to call our function issue auth token, pass in the user. And we're going to do the same thing for our cookie so that we can kind of just recall this function. So that's issue auth token function. Let's see. Issue auth cookie. Takes in the response object and the token. Let's just bring in our couple lines here. Max age is now parse int config get auth dot cookie expires in. Auth token, cookie options. And then we'll just say, res.cookie. Okay, easy enough. So now we call our function. We're going to issue auth cookie, pass in the res and the auth token. Okay, so we refactored that. If I delete my user, something's probably going to break. Let's take a look. So I got my user. Let's delete them. Here, here. Body. Okay, config is not defined. Okay. Config is not defined. Users line 30. Did I not import config? Guess I never brought in config. Let's bring in config. Okay, so let's delete and make sure we're booted. I would expect that to catch my error. The fact that it's crashing like that is not a good thing, but let's run it. Okay. Okay, configuration auth token expires in is not defined. Okay. Auth token expires in. EXP expires in. EXP. If I did it here, I probably did it there. Expires in. Cookie expires in. Okay. Refresh, delete my user. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Now, what's my error here? User with email already exists. Okay. Delete my user. Rerun it. Okay, so we are getting an auth token expires in is not defined, which is interesting because here configuration, there we go, auth.token expires in. Oh, I have a typo on my JavaScript. Token expires in. Cookie expires in. You make those same typos, or did you catch them?
I'm trying to see what you're doing. I'm getting auth.secret is not defined, so I'm sure it's a similar.
Yeah, so auth.secret is lowercase,
Yeah.
but I might be getting that now. So let's delete my user. And capital I-N. Just making some typos. And okay, now back to new user registered. We got a cookie here with the auth token in it. Okay. Cookies there's an auth token cookie. Okay. So my issues were just typos in the property names and getting them. Auth.secret should go auth.secret, getting it from .env now to be thorough. We could pull this. Secret. And let's see if I throw it in there. It's not going to like that. No. Okay. We'll just keep it empty there. Okay, Grant. I'm up and running. I can help you get up and running.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, we're going to make a login route now that we got users registering.
How many version 6's addresses are there? What's the number?
Oh, it's like 4.8 septillion or something.
Let's say router dot
It's an absolutely insane number.
post
But
login.
once this is fully implemented, there's so many that there's a very little chance of that's more addresses than normally required for computer browsers. IP version 6 addresses are represented access to each 4-digit segment separated by colons. Each 4-digit segment
Res.json.
Eight 4-digit sections separated by colons.
Okay, so that's our register new user post. Okay.
I was a little off. It's 340 undecillion.
So we're basically going to get username and password out of the rec.body. And here we say if. Okay, so we're going to look up the user by their email. Wait. Now, we brought in everything under DB module. DB module. Let's hold on right here. Find user by email. So this will return a user by their email. So we should have a DB module. Find user by email. Oh, I gotta export it. Find user by email. There we go. Now, find user by email. Pass in the email. And we could say, hey, if there's a user's truthy and await bcrypt dot compare the login password which comes from the front end, which comes from the password in Postman, with the user dot password. Now this is the hashed password that you're getting out of the database. So it's like basically it's calling this compare method, sending in the unencrypted password with the encrypted password out of the database. So if the user is truthy, meaning the email exists in there, and bcrypt basically says yes, the password matches, then let's res.json, we'll just say welcome back. This will be user.email.
We have special addresses, special addresses that exist in ID version 6 are rootback.
Else
Rootback address would be very similar to 127.0.0.1.
res.json, email or password.
ID version 6 ID 4 allows ID version 6 operates on another lane. Broadcast.
Okay, so I created a user with this email address. This is my login. Email is that. Password was password. Welcome back. If I say anything else, email or password were incorrect. So we got bcrypt working, encrypting on the way in, decrypting on the way out. Awesome. And if I throw in something like that, email or password were incorrect. Grant, you good on your end?
Yeah, except I got my app crashed once I tried to do it again with an incorrect password.
All right, let's take a look. Okay, Grant was getting something about cannot set headers after response is sent back. So we have this if else, and so your server is responding to your client one way or another here, and it is kind of a common thing to say, oh, well, I'm going to respond here. And it's like, well, you're either responding here or you're responding here. Basically, line 85. If you have another response down here, line 85, it will never be hit. It's either going to respond at 81 in this case or in 83. So that's all that was. Okay, and so if the user logs in, of course, we want to welcome them back. But let's also, when you log in, let's create that token and let's create the cookie. And so that's what we'll do next. And so we made a function to kind of help with that, right? So issue auth token, and that would return your auth token. So let's write that. Const auth token equals issue auth token, passing in the user, and let's also issue auth cookie, passing in the res and the auth token. And let's see, issue auth cookie, what does that return? I forget. Doesn't return anything, just creates the cookie. So now when we log in, it will also create our token and create our cookie. A lot faster when you do it the second time. And then we could just, you could say email password incorrect. We also could wrap this in a try catch, right? So try all this. Catch ERR. Did I put that next? Yeah, I did. We'll say welcome back, user email. We can also say auth token. Auth token. Just to show that that has been created. So now when I log in, welcome back, auth token. Even though it's a bunch of gibberish, it does show that the auth token was created. Okay, and really we'll be able to leverage this when we actually get into writing front ends, right? And keeping a user logged in, right? We're just kind of enabling this on the back end right now. Okay, what I didn't finish here today, and it's kind of a spot where we got maybe 15 or less minutes, and so I'm going to have to probably call it here because I'm not going to be able to finish it up. But there's a few more functions that I didn't get to, right? Updating and deleting. We created, I probably don't even need this login user because ultimately it did the same thing, right? It finds a user by the email. So probably don't need login user. We already have find user by email. We registered user, find user by email. We're going to actually have a couple of different routes to update a user and delete a user. And I will get to those tomorrow. And then additionally, not only authentication, which we now have username and password, but we're going to get into authorization as well, right? Locking down some routes with middleware to say, hey, if you're not a member, if you don't have this certain role, then you don't have access here. 403, not authorized. And so here's users, registers. Our users have roles. New user schema. Yeah, users should have a role. So we will continue tomorrow.